Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. Hopefully you all are good and healthy and safe at your homes. So today we are discussing our chapter number 5, that was matter and change in its states. As we have discussed in the previous lecture that about the different state of matters like solid, liquid and gas. So now today we are discussing about the water cycle. So the question is arised in our mind that what is the water cycle? As we know about that, we are surrounded by water, and water is constantly moving, constantly changing from the one state to the another state. So we see that water moves from the liquid state. So water moves from the liquid state to ice or a vapors, and then from the vapors it back turn into the liquid state. Okay? But we have seen that these water is converting into different states, but the total amount of water on our earth will be remain the same. So now the question is arised in our minds that how it moves and changes into different states. When they move into different states, it is called as water cycle. So now what is water cycle? How it is moved from two different states and how it is changes into different states in the water cycle. So firstly we will define the water cycle, that it is a journey of the water take as it circulates from the land to the sky and then back again. Okay? So it is the journey of water in which the water will be circulate from the land then into sky and then they come back to again on the land. So this whole procedure is done into certain steps, which steps are evaporation, condensation, precipitation and collection. So before we will discuss these steps by one, firstly here there are some terms which need to know, that was sublimation and deposition. So what is the sublimation? When there is the direct conversion of the solid state of water into the gas, that is called the sublimation. And when there was direct conversion of gas into the solid state of water, that is called deposition. So these terms are used in our today's lecture when we are discussing the different states of water cycle. So now we are starting the steps of water cycle. The first step is evaporation. When we will see in our surrounding that when sun or heats the water from the rivers, from the lakes and from other sources of water, the water will be evaporate. Evaporate means that it turned into vapors, that it is gaseous states. There are also some amount of water that is transpired from the plant, and also there is the some amount of water that is evaporated from the soil due to heat. When these water vapors leave the river surface or our land, that will go into the air and forming the clouds. So there is also another smaller amount of water that comes from the ice, that we call the moisture, and This moisture is come through the procedure of sublimation that I have already discussed with you. That what is the sublimation? Sublimation means that directly conversion of the solid state into the vapors due to heat. So now there was the second state is condensation. Condensation is the procedure in which when water vapors change into the water droplets or ice crystals. When these water vapors changes into water droplets or ice crystals, we will say that it is condensation. Why this happen that again the water vapors convert into the water droplets? What's the reason? Can you know about that? So now I will tell you the reason that when the water vapors in the air get cold, when the water vapors goes in the air, they can get cold and then they can change back into the liquid state. So we can say that the condensation is the reverse of evaporation. When the evaporation is taken place, the liquid state will convert into the gaseous state. And again, when the gases, water vapors are cool, they will come back again into the liquid state. So both these steps are reverse. Now we will start at the next state, that is precipitation. Precipitation means when there is so much amount of water vapors condenses in the water or into the cloud. Okay, when the water vapors condenses into water in the cloud, then the cloud gets heavy. When the cloud gets heavy, they cannot hold the capacity or hold enough capacity to hold enough water, so then water will fall back to the earth in the form of precipitation. So what is the precipitation? How they will come back to the earth? So water which is released from the clouds, it's mostly in the form of rain or is in the form of freezing rain or a sleets, snow or a hail. You can see here that it is a normally rain. When we are talking about the sleets, there was a shining solid state of water or ice that is coming toward the earth. It is sleets. Hail is when there is a large amount of the ice will come into the earth, that was a hail. And normally that snow जो आपकी normally amount में देखते हो, that was a snow. ठीक है? So it is a primarily connection of the water cycle that it provides the atmospheric water to the earth. But the most of precipitation will be done in the form of rain. Now the last step is collection. Collection is the step in which when the rain, the water will falls back to the earth. This water goes to the rivers, to the lakes, towards the oceans, and they were collected here. From this water, there is some amount of water is also soaked into the earth, and it become the part of our groundwater. And this groundwater will be used by us, by animals, and by the plants. So this is all about the water cycle. Now we are discussing about the importance of water cycle, or what is the significance of the water cycle. The first important of the water cycle is that water is recycled again and again, so the nutrients that are present in the water is also recycled. Second point, it brings the fresh water towards the people and the living organisms. The third point, it ensures that the continuous supply of and the distribution of water on the planet Earth. And the fourth one is there was the total mass of the Earth remain constant only because of water cycle, because water is come again and again on the Earth, then again towards the atmosphere, so it maintain the total mass of the Earth. Here was an interesting information that, do you know about that we can also call the water cycle as an hydrologic cycle. When there was word as used as hydrologic cycle, which is also mean as it is a water cycle, because hydro means water. So now coming toward the next topic, that was role of evaporation and condensation in the water cycle. There is a certain role of evaporation and condensation in water. How is it? Because through the procedure of evaporation, we can purify the water. You can see that in the sea water, there was enough salts are present which we want to purify these salts. So when we will, firstly we will heat the water, and then the water which is heated, the steam is collected, and then the steam is converted into the pure water or collected as a pure water. Now we are discussing about the role of condensation in the water cycle. You know about that, what is condensation? Condensation is the process by which water vapors are changed back into the liquid state as a water. It is called condensation. So it is a very important for our weather and climate. Why is it important? Because through the procedure of condensation, the water which is responsible for the cloud formation. Because we know that without clouds we would not get to the third phase called precipitation, and through the precipitation the water is come back towards us or towards the earth. Another application of the evaporation and condensation of the purification of water by solar energy. In this case, the water is evaporated by the solar energy, and then these water vapors are collected, and these water vapor are collected or condenses into water vapors which converted into the clean drinking water. So this procedure, purification of water, will also use the evaporation and condensation procedures. Okay? So this is the all about our today's lecture. Hopefully you should all clear about the water cycle, what is the importance of water cycle, and how these two procedures, evaporation and condensation, will be used in our daily life to purify the water. Okay, thank you. Allah Hafiz.